Um,
This is the Furlough Podcast, brought to you by All American Ford in Aniana, Alabama. Stop by and see John Makovica and his team today.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Furlough Podcast. It's been a great morning. We have on a very interesting fellow, Mr. Leon Wilks. Mr. Wilks is, among many things, I guess, you're a demonologist.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is what has really sparked my interest in you. You know, we've had Miranda Young, the ghost biker, on, and you have a relationship with her. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I've always been a skeptic, but I've had some experiences that I've never been able to explain, and I discussed it on the show that I had Miranda on our first show. I gave my own little experiences and stuff like that. But I will tell you, she took me on an impromptu investigation to a place that, well, we took her actually, that was quote unquote had activity. And I don't want to say it's haunted, but has activity. And some things went down, and I'm going to tell you, I don't know what I believe, but I know what I saw. And
Man. Yeah.
So what got you into demonology? That is amazing thing to try to get into.
Well, you know, the strange thing about it is that when you look out throughout my life, especially my childhood, usually people that get into this field have that unique experience that has happened to them. I never had that. I originally started out with my interest in the paranormal and all that weird stuff by watching Unsolved Mysteries.
Speaking of weird, you look really like one of my brothers a lot.
Oh, really?
It's kind of weird.
Well, here I am.
There you go.
You know, but Unsolved Mysteries.
I love that show. That was the greatest show.
Robert Stack has the greatest voice I have ever heard in my life.
Oh, I agree. I'm with you.
He can creep you out, leave you on that emotional cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And once the episode goes off, you're scared to even close your eyes to go.
And left wanting, right?
Exactly.
You're like, what? Mm-hmm. I gotta know. Yeah. That was, you're absolutely correct.
For me, that was the original paranormal or the show about the weird stuff.
Okay.
And that's what got me interested in like all this. And that was my first introduction to the Warrens, you know, to Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
I saw what they were doing. I'm like, this is cool, but it wasn't till later on, till about the year 2000.
And that's before mainstream media knew about them, like with The Conjuring and everything. So you got to see them before it was cool. If you
exactly, yeah. So you know, that kind of left me with a wanting to know about the paranormal stuff. You know, so then the year 2000 came about, and I met up with some friends, and we just want to see what this ghost hunting thing is all about. You know, and that led to me creating a team with somebody there in Georgia, and it got to a point to where we were actually very reputable in the state of Georgia. We were getting about 10, roughly around 10 case requests per day. And
wow, a day?
Yes, sir. I mean, like, it was getting really, really to the point to where we had to start farming out some cases to some trusted teams around the area. So around that time, though, I was kind of getting that pulling to study demonology and stuff. And what really, you know, solidified that with me is we had a case, and I think it was in Harlem, Georgia, and at the case, we were able to present the clients with proof that you had a inhuman haunting or like a demonic thing like going on. You know, when we left, you know, that was around the craze of the ghost hunters days. You know, when ghost hunters first came out, everybody wants to find evidence and proof, and then but after that, when we was coming home, everyone was happy. Oh, we got all this evidence, you know. I wasn't. that with my religious upbringing, there was something deep down inside of me telling me or asking me, did you really help those people?
Right.
And I had to answer that with no. So then from there, I transitioned from doing just regular paranormal and ghost hunting stuff to studying demonology.
Right.
Because that solidified it with me. This is where I need to be. But I told myself I don't want to, read a book and proclaim to be a demonologist, because I know with common sense thinking, that is not how you do it. You have to study it. You have to have a mentor, and you got to go through the progressions of actually knowing what you're talking about.
Sure.
And knowing what you're investigating. And with demonology, you have to find that way of bringing closure.
Well, you don't want to be a quack either. You don't want to be somebody that they're
don't.
like, oh, this guy, I mean, whatever.
Yeah. You actually want credibility, in this field of paranormal, or even in the field of religious demonology. You have to have some type of credibility, because if you don't, you won't go anywhere. You will claim this and claim that, come into a case and make it worse.
Yeah.
So my goal is, when I come into a case, I want to leave the case at least the way that I found it.
Sure.
And because you can't help it, everyone. You can come to a case and interview the people and work with them and come to a realization that they don't want to go with what you suggest.
Okay.
They think they know more than you do.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. So that's when you back away, but I don't come in stirring things up.
Sure.
I come in very, very, very gingerly. I want to establish a rapport with the people.
Mm-hmm.
So I come onto the case, I start chit-chatting with them. And with me and my military police background, I kind of know the art of the interview.
The BS meter?
Yes. I know how to read body language.
Yeah.
And I just know when somebody is feeding me some BS.
Yeah.
So that actually comes into the play, knowing how to read the body language. I know when somebody is genuine or when somebody is just not genuine.
Right.
And that plays a factor, So when I was deciding to study all this stuff, I kind of knew that you already had to have the knowledge and the ins and outs of how to talk to people. Mm-hmm. And I can just like I told you earlier, I can talk to people for 4 days, just ramble on.
Yeah.
They don't realize I'm pulling information out of them.
Sure.
So then I knew that I couldn't just read a book and say, hey, I'm a demonologist. And really, to be honest with you, I really don't like to claim to be a demonologist. I'm just someone who can help. But the correct title would be a demonologist.
Well, what do you do? Okay, so when you made that decision, you said, okay, I'm going to learn. Yeah. I wouldn't even know where the first step would be. I mean, if I said today, says, Chris, I'm going to be a demonologist.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, now what do I do? I wouldn't have a clue to go. Is there a reputable organization that's unheard of or not known as well? Is there, obviously, let me back up a half a second. Mm-hmm. And you tell me if I'm wrong or right. From my understanding, to be a true demonologist, you have to be into Catholicism. Is that correct?
Let's put it this way. I do know some people who are Protestant, your Southern Baptists and stuff like that, who know what they're doing.
Okay.
So Keith Johnson is one of them. Tracy Bacon is one of them. But when you look at the field of religious demonology, it does stem from what the Catholic side of things have brought into the table. Because they've been dealing with the demonic realm for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
They have more research into this. When I first started out, I wasn't of the Catholic faith. Okay. I was a Protestant. And when I started studying this, I met up with a good friend of mine. Me and him developed a good relationship. His name is Dave Considine. Now, Dave Considine is one of only 2 people that was ever formally trained by Ed Warren. So earlier I mentioned the Warrens. Now, by my knowledge, Ed Warren was the only lay person. Lay, what I mean by lay is that someone who isn't an ordained priest. He was the first lay person that was ever recognized by the Catholic Church as being a demonologist. Yes. So,
wow.
So when you see that he trained his son-in-law, Tony Spera, and then he trained Dave Considine. And in order to be a legitimate religious demonologist, you have to be trained by a religious demonologist who is under the authority of the church. Okay. And fortunately, God blessed me with the opportunity to get trained by one of those.
Okay.
So that's how I kind of
you just
came in the bean.
Did you track them down, or did you bump into them at an event, or I mean?
God puts things in mysterious places.
Right. I believe things,
that. So I knew, like I said earlier, I couldn't just read a book and say, "Hey, I'm a demonologist." But I had some cases that I was working on, like at the time, and I was stumped. So I had a friend of mine that actually was kind of knew Dave Considine, and he wanted to talk to me about my case. So me and him started talking, and one thing led to another, and we was calling each other almost on a daily basis. Sometimes it's not even talking about paranormal stuff. It's just chit-chatting.
It's almost like a calling, if you will, that you met this person became part of your life.
Yes. And him and his spouse are my best friends. They live in Connecticut. I unfortunately live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which I wasn't thrilled about the move. But
you mean there ain't no ghost stuff going on? There got to be some old dead cowboys running around.
Hey, there's some strange stuff that happens here. Where I live at is about 3 hours away from Roswell.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then right now I'm working on a case just right down the road with some satanic practices and ritualistic sex magic. So
ritualistic sex magic. That might be new to me. I've been into some weird stuff, but I don't know if that'd be
people say that during that intimate part, with sex, that's when the two mingle and are the most powerful. And
they put in movies and stuff, and I have to ignorantly reference things that I don't know 100% about, but just basically off of what mainstream is. They put things like that. What was the Tom Hanks movie, Angels and Demons? When he's talking about they put that kind of stuff in there where the paganistic, not even paganistic, but the ritualistic thing where you have sex with the main guy, blah blah, and they stand around and watch, and and I know a lot of it in media is sensationalized, if you will, but I have been curious, is like, people do weird things when they believe in something.
Yes.
And so when you talk about things like that, it always makes you wonder how they come up with those things. How do they? It's like, who was the first guy a quack and convinced everybody that says, look, I could talk all these girls into making love to me to keep it PG, but it's weird, and I always wonder that. The biggest thing, and I'll ramble on, but the biggest thing is, I've been in church when I was growing up and this and that, but I kind of went away from that because of experiences I've had in organized religion, if you will, and I think that's the biggest thing that pushes people away from religion nowadays is, it's like the bad apples and all that good jazz. And like me, I wouldn't say I'm a religious person, but I'm not an anti-religious person. I don't go to church and every day and every Sunday and all that good stuff, but I do believe in higher powers and different whatnots. I just don't like putting labels on groups. But what I found interesting is this all correlates is when I first had Miranda on for the first time, and people were like, "You got a ghost, a paranormal investigator," you know, and I was shocked at the amount of really religious people that were like, oh, that's BS. You shouldn't be doing that. But then as I dug, and I was ignorant to the fact
Mhm.
as well, but as I dug and things like you do, it's very religious. It was
Mhm.
very, you go, it's like, well, wait a minute. To be a true paranormalist, or a demonologist, excuse me,
Mhm.
you got to be tied into the church. So how can you
Yeah. Yeah.
say one is BS and non-religious and they're devilish, but
Mhm.
yet in the same book, you got the people like yourself that are learning to do demonology, but to me, it's the same, not the same thing because you're doing different things, but it's definitely in the same game.
Yes, you know what? You do bring up a good point. You know, when you're dealing with religion, you know, you're dealing with many aspects of things. You know, you're dealing with. When I say religion, let's take it from the Christianity like point of view. Okay. Christianity has been splintered off into different churches with different theology and all this stuff, in which when the church was created, you know, by the apostles, it was one. And then you got man, us, you know,
Yeah,
man likes to control things.
sure.
Okay. So man will come up with different thoughts and different theories of theology and stuff like this, and then it splinters off into a different sect. And then they have a different thought and theology. So it's that splintered off too. So church religion has been splintered off into different things. So I have saw with the Protestant side of things, they don't believe in the afterlife. They believe that all ghosts are demons.
Wow.
They even take it a step further, saying that if you drink a sip of alcohol, you're going to hell.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So
I'll save my buddies a seat.
you know, when I was growing up in a Protestant mind frame. Okay. But then I saw many people who were Christians, you know, God-fearing men and women that drank alcohol.
Right.
You know, so
it's confusing, right?
It most certainly is. You know, you have to go to the original teachings of Scripture, and you see Jesus turned the water into wine.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't just any wine, it was the best wine.
Yeah.
Jesus also told his disciples, don't fear, because ghosts or spirits don't have flesh and bone. So he's teaching them about the afterlife.
Yeah.
What he referenced to was the afterlife.
Right.
What he also referenced to is kind of on the same page when you read the book of Job. In the book of Job, Job says that a spirit passed before his eyes and the hair on his flesh rose.
Oh, man, let me tell you about something happened to me and Miranda. I got my flesh rose like nobody's business.
Yeah.
That's some weird things that happened, man. I was like, I don't know what I believe, but I know what I saw. And that was some crazy stuff. That is wild. But how do you, to take it away from religion, let's go to experiences. What do you normally see, and what is some of the craziest things you've seen? I mean, have you truly seen somebody that you felt was possessed, and what was that experience like? I mean, because I don't know. Yeah, I've seen some people that high on drugs, and I thought that dude's possessed, you know, as a joke. But you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you react.
You know what? I have to, when I go into these cases, you know, I have to, I wouldn't say numb myself, but I'll have to go through these scenarios in my head. You know, what if I encounter this? What if I encounter this? This is the same aspect with preparing to go to a gunfight. You know, when I've been deployed to Iraq or just responding to a call. You know, you have to play those what if scenarios into the back of your head. So therefore, when you go into that situation, you more than likely won't be caught off guard.
Yeah,
you
calm.
know, calm, cool, and collective. You know, these demonic spirits, they know you better than you know yourself. They know your weaknesses. I have had several cases where a paranormal team would call me in, and I tell them, look, before you go in with me, I want you to pray to God and confess your sins that you have done. Several of them hadn't. When we go in there, these demonic entities will call out each one of their sins by date and time.
No
I have
joke.
seen that. Yes.
Holy shit, they'd be there all day for me. They'd be like, all right, chapter 1. I'll be like, sorry guys, I didn't have enough time.
Yeah. So that's why for me, whenever I go onto these cases, I like to go there in a state of grace. And that means that, number one, I know I'm not perfect.
Sure.
You know, so I will go through confession. And then from there, I will partake in Holy Communion. So when I'm going there, I am going there with a clean slate, and these demonic entities cannot accuse me of anything that I've done wrong.
Really? That's wow, man.
Yeah.
That's totally new for me, but it might not be new to other people that follow this. But I'm just saying that blows my mind. You know, I'm like, I never thought about that kind of stuff. Now I did watch, and going back to entertainment, you know, they used that in The Conjuring, where they were messing with people, and the thing that was in the basement was trying to pick at, you know, the dad and the mom and doing that stuff. So that's funny, because if you're not in the know to what you just said, you think that's just sensationalism, but obviously somebody did their research and to try to make it as true to form as possible.
Yes.
But oh man, it's just I just can't imagine going in. I mean, have you done anything? Have you been anywhere that the house was or the property was just weird, but you didn't really engage with a spirit or a demon or anything like that? It was just like, okay, something's wrong, but we just don't know what's wrong.
You know what? When you go into these cases, you really don't know what's happening yet. I'm being brought in from an outsider's point of view. Normally when I'm brought in, the case has already been investigated, and they can provide me with solid evidence of either a home infestation or demonic oppression, or start the process for investigating for demonic possession. Now, for infestation, these things can resemble a lot like just regular haunting style of activity. You can have your cabinets to your kitchen, like opening and closing, you get stuff moving, seeing shadows. But then how you know if it's something kind of sinister is if there's weird foul smells, like a fecal matter, death, sulfur. If you get wrappings on the wall, that is in succession of 3. Anything that has happening in the succession of 3s, it makes me think that we might have something sinister. Because when you're dealing with successions of 3, it is trying to mock the Holy Trinity. Okay, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So therefore, these things like to work in succession of 3s. That's why a lot of times, a lot of this activity happens around 3 a.m. That's called the witching hour. So it is direct. It is directly mocking God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But with an infestation too, people can start getting scratched. When I'm looking at evidence of a demonic scratch, it looks a lot like cat scratches. But when I asked them, how did it feel whenever you got scratched? Like a charge of electricity. That's how we're gauging this. If it's a demonic scratch, something sinister, it can look like cat scratches. But if I'm seeing something that is wide, kind of like human fingertips, then we're not dealing with something sinister. We're dealing with something more than likely they did themselves.
Oh, yeah, more man-made, yeah. Well, now I got to share the story. I've shared the story before, and and this is this is something that happened to me many years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. So I feel like I can tell the story verbatim every time.
Okay.
So me and some guys moved to Ocala, Florida in the mid-90s. And we were just, one of the guys was from down there, and he's like, oh, I just got out of the service, and we were just trying to figure out things. And he's like, oh, let's move down there. So we moved down there and moved in this big house, and like a frat house almost. Had the big front end and all that stuff. Well, we moved down there and had like a weird house that was broken up into apartments next door, so we didn't really trust it. And so when we moved, when we were moving our stuff in, we rented this house. There was a couple of things weird about the house. One, it didn't have numbers on the damn house. It was on a main drag, old school houses in Ocala. And so when we moved in, I thought that was weird. And then when we moved in, two of my buddies I was with, they had to come back up to get more stuff because we didn't have a big enough. We were poor, so we had a little bitty U-Haul thing, and so they came back to get more. So the first night I was there, I decided that afternoon it was starting to get dark. I went to go grab something to eat, and come back. And so I did. I ran down the road and I came back, and I'm sitting in there, and to take a backup step at lunch that day. One guy that was with us, when you walk into the front house, as soon as you open the door, it has steps that go upstairs. Yeah. And underneath the steps was a little half door, that you put stuff under, because when you go around the steps in the living room, it goes down into the dining room, into the kitchen. So they had closed off the bottom of the steps and made like a little cubby. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he put his stuff in there, and when he put it, this guy was he was known to be cheap, if you will. Yeah. So when he threw his stuff in there, we got ready to go to lunch, and he went over there to get his wallet and stuff, and he couldn't open the door. And we were like, come on, let's go. And he goes, I can't open the door. And he was all frustrated. And I went over there and couldn't open the door. Wow. It was like it was jammed shut. And we were like, whatever, let's go do lunch, and we'll come back and figure it out, take the hinges off, do whatever, kick it in, whatever it needs to be done. So we come back, the door's open about yay far, about 4 inches or so. And we were like, well, that's weird. Didn't think nothing else about it. And so we continued to move in. Well, they left to go back from Ocala to Alabama. So I stayed there to watch the house because we didn't want people to bust in after they seen us moving, right? So I'm late. I go get something to eat, and I come back. It's dark, and I'm sitting down there, and of course I don't have any TV. I don't have nothing, and it's just quiet and dark. And 2-story house, and I'm sitting there, and I go, and I'm doing something, and I hear somebody walking upstairs. Oh. And I'm like, motherfucker. I was like, somebody's done broke in the house, right?
Time to get that gun and shoot him.
That's right. So I get my gun, and there's only one way up and one way down from upstairs. And so when you go up, it tees off. You go one way to one bedroom, one way to another bedroom, and then another way down the hall to a bathroom and a bedroom. Almost like a cross, right? The house is in shape of a cross.
Oh, there we go.
And so I go up. I clear the first room, come in, clear the second room because I had that kind of training in the service. Yep. And then I walk it on back down. Nothing. Clear the bathroom, clear the back room, zero. And the bathroom didn't even have a closet. It was an old house. And I was like, well, damn, that's weird. I'm just crazy. It's old, old house. It's creaking, doing whatever. So I go back down, sitting on the couch and doing something, eating, doing whatever. And I hear it again. And it's distinct. I'm sitting there listening, and it's distinctive walking down the hallway.
Now it's time to shoot up the whole house.
Yeah. That's like, I'm like, so I kicked my shoes and socks off because I thought I was making noise. So I kicked my shoes and socks off, and I just tippy-toe up the stairs and as quiet as I could be. Never found anything. Whew. Okay. So I'm like, I'm damn crazy. And so, but nothing else happened the rest of the night. Wow. Well, I go to sleep. I sleep on the couch downstairs, whatever. The next morning, the sister of the guy that got us to move down there, she lived there. She comes by. She goes, how'd you sleep? And I said, I slept good. She goes, I'm surprised. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, this house is supposed to be haunted and all that stuff. I can't believe, and I won't mention the guy's name, didn't tell you. And I'm like, what?
You were lied to.
So I was like, what? So the story is
Mhm.
that it was told to me. Don't know the truth of it, but the story is told to me. It was a guy that lived there, was a lawyer. He was in local politics. They had a big they had an external garage off the house, and so supposedly upstairs had the phone jack, and there was a lot of windows down one side. Well, supposedly the wife was upstairs. It was raining. She was, this is like 40s or 50s or something like that. So she's on the phone trying to call somebody, find out where her husband is because he hadn't come home. Well, supposedly she tells whoever she's on the phone with, oh, he's coming out of the garage. Well, it turns out it wasn't her husband coming out of the garage. It was somebody that killed her husband in the garage.
My goodness.
So when she realized it wasn't her husband, apparently she was trying to run down the stairs, and that person kicked the door in and killed her on the staircase.
My goodness.
So the myth or the legend is that she walks the house, because that's where she was killed. And of course, that was told to me after we moved in.
So the footsteps, did it sound really heavy?
It didn't sound heavy. It just sounded like somebody sneaking around.
Gotcha.
Like pacing. And
Gotcha.
I was like, and then so when I was told that story, I was like, holy crap, kind of, tied. And I was like, we didn't stay very long. I think we made it a month. And not because of that, because the guys I moved down there were shady, and I didn't say shady, but they were unreliable. And so we ended up not staying in that house very long. But I was always curious as to what kind of crazy things would have happened if we'd have stayed there a long time. So
you know what? In that case, you might have been dealing with something of a human aspect, of a human spirit. I mean, when you heard the footsteps, one thing that is common in a demonic style of haunting is really heavy footsteps.
Okay.
Like the sound of a bull or something.
Okay.
So since you said it didn't sound heavy, it was kind of light. You know. Who knows it? Who knows? It might have been the dead wife.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Is and is again, I don't know the whole story and the facts of the story. You only know what's regurgitated to you.
Yep.
And but it was like, holy crap, all that stuff makes sense, and it almost makes you wonder if that was going on, if she was being playful when this guy threw his stuff under the stairs and closed the door, and she's like, I'm not going to let this door open. But when you come back, the door's open. And it was just weird. It's just weird things that happen there. But I'll tell you this too, and Miranda asked this question, how I slept. I slept so good. And I know I was tired from moving, stuff like that, but it was probably one of the best sleeps. I mean, I didn't have any problem sleeping in that house. It was very peaceful.
So that tells me you were probably dealing with a human spirit then. The demonic likes to take away your sleep. If you don't have enough sleep, you will become kind of out of your mind and don't know what way is up or down.
Right.
And the more sleep it takes away, the more it can try to gain control over you. So you were dealing more than likely with a human style of haunting.
That's wild. So that's and the only other story I got is this, and I get choked up when I talk about this, so I'll try not to talk about this. I had a friend that passed away, and really close and all that good jazz. And I was telling Miranda, I think the mind plays tricks on people.
Yeah.
I think that we see what we want to see sometimes, or feel what you want to feel and stuff like that. But probably I can't remember if it was a week, 2 weeks, or whatever. After a friend of mine passed away, I was at work. And I was walking down the hallway, and I felt like somebody, and I was the only one in this hallway, and it's a long, real narrow hallway. And I felt somebody, tap me on the back shoulder, almost like a little shove. And didn't hear anything, but in my mind, I could hear, it's going to be okay. And it was just like, and that was it. Because I turned around like somebody, was behind me.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, I said, your mind plays tricks on you, when you're in situations, of sadness or whatever. So I'm curious if you ever had people say that kind of stuff to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. My question to you though is after that happened, how did you feel?
a little weirded out.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, it's
Yeah.
like you don't even really want to walk down the hall again. Like that was some weird shit.
But did you kind of get a sense of it's gonna be okay?
Yeah, you're just kind of like
Yeah.
almost like closure,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, if I guess if you could use that word, but
Yeah.
you kind of let it go.
Yeah, it's one of those things, when you have a death of a family member or a really close loved one, sometimes you go into a mourning and grieving stage, and sometimes that can last a long time.
Sure.
But I've had several people to during that stage, they would have something like what you had.
Mm-hmm.
I call it a divine visitor to
Mm-hmm.
let you know that it's going to be okay. Sometimes you are wondering, did where they go? Did they make it to heaven, or did they make it to hell, or just whatever?
Sure.
And sometimes you can grieve over that too.
Yeah.
But I've known a lot of people that have that closure moment, that moment to where something happens, kind of like what happened to you, to let them know it's okay. They have made it.
Have you ever had to try to figure out if that was something that was just in somebody's head, or because I guess my point would be is believe it or not believe it, but is it something that because some people get hung up on things and they in my mind they manifest their own problems or their own even good things. You know what I'm saying? They're like, I think you can go either way. Oh, I was visited by the three ghosts or whatever, and now I'm a psychic, whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to be
These
funny.
Crazy psychics, I tell you.
Yeah. So now I'm whatever, so I'm curious. It's almost like people that think their house is haunted, but but like one of the Ed Warren's things, got a damn bad pipe, that's banging the wall, but I'm curious if some of these people, they have a weird moment like that. Now they think they're touched specially, or they can see things. Do you have to deal with people like that call you?
I have dealt with a lot of people who claim that things are happening like in their house and stuff like that. And you take them out of the house, to do the investigation, and nothing's happening. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then you bring them in and things start happening.
Wow.
Okay. So there is a certain thing called a poltergeist, where the person actually starts manifesting this stuff, and they don't realize it. And normally these people have either been through a rough time in their life, and or sometimes, most of the time, it is a adolescent female who starts going through that time of the month, stuff like that. So stuff that starts doing a drastic change, like in your life, and they've had all this stuff that happened to them. Sometimes, if they've not had the proper counseling, or when that female does go through that change, it produces this energy, and that can make things happen.
Are you shitting me that like somebody's own energy can make something happen? I've never heard. That's crazy.
It is called a poltergeist. I know when you hear the word poltergeist, you think of the movie Poltergeist. But in all essence, this is a legitimate thing. I have had a case or two that actually deals with this, and but it's very, very rare though.
Yeah.
And how we stop this stuff from happening is you send them through counseling, and then the activity slowly starts dwindling down to where it's none at all.
That is amazing. I've never heard that. That's new for me.
The body and the brain is crazy. It is crazily, wired, and we still don't know the full capacity of the human brain.
Do you think that goes back to, and this is crossing religion, science, and different, and even aliens, if you will?
Okay.
But there's so many people that say that the power of the mind is a powerful thing about, you know, being able to move things with your mind. And there are people, and they're always doing experiments on mind control or telepathy or whatever. Is that kind of where you think that falls into, is that in the poltergeist situation, that our brain is so powerful that if we focus on something, we can make an object move?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I would have to say that this also goes back to Adam and Eve, and that's a strange concept. But whenever Adam and Eve was first created by God, they were in communion with God. They were working in the full capacity of the human mind. Okay. Then when they sinned against God, that capacity was severed. Okay. Their full communion with God was severed because of their sin. Right.
Right.
Now it's a proven fact that we humans normally, you know, we operate on 10% of our brain. Okay. Right. So that means there's 90% that is untapped.
Right.
90% that somehow it was cut off. You know, so I believe it goes back to Adam and Eve. This is just my theory, okay? But I believe it goes back to Adam and Eve. You know, when they was first created, they was walking with God. They was talking with God. They were surrounded by God, okay? And then they sinned. It was cut off, and now you have to have like a redemptive thing to happen for you to get back into the graces of God, right? So they've done a study, okay? People that are going to church and actually in the church services, their brain has been stimulated and it's operating on more than 10%.
Really?
Yes. So I believe that there's a connection there. Yes, I do.
Now that's the people that are truly paying attention.
Yeah.
not the guys who, oh my God, I'm going to be in church again.
Yeah.
When are we going to Waffle House after this?
That's right. And you know what? I also believe that these people with legitimate abilities, you know, the abilities to discern spirits, to see and know things that us normal people don't know. I believe that they're operating on more than 10% of the brain.
Does that go back to the guys that say, well, I'm in, you know, and then there's nuts in every bowl, you know, but the guys that say, I'm in touch with God, you know, and blah, 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 you know, the religious leaders, and they feel like they've made it to a next level, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, do you think that there may be some truth to that as far as?
I believe 90% of those are charlatans.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to the message, donate money and God will bless you.
The evangelist.
You know, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but there is that 10%, you know, that I believe are legitimate, and they are in tune with God, and God has allowed the brain to operate on more than that 10%.
Yeah. That's wild. I mean, that, you know, to me, it's just kind of overwhelming. I mean, it's fascinating that you've gotten into that much and seen so much. The little bits I've seen, Miranda took us on a, I'll ask you about this. This is really a good one. So, because I've seen this, I can disseminate this with you.
Okay.
So Miranda and I, when we first interviewed Miranda, my past co-host, he's not with us anymore, but you know, we had watched all her series, and we made this joke that she has to deal with the flashlights, you know, where the flashlights turn on and off. And we made the joke that if we go anywhere with her and the flashlights go off, we're out of there, you know, because, you know, it was crazy. So she came on and she had all these flashlights, and we didn't give her any warning on our skepticisms or whatever. It was a great interview. I really hope you go back and listen to it. Really, really great interview. I asked her tons of questions. And so she passed these flashlights around. I started taking them apart because I do engineering work, and I'm just like, I'm going to figure this.
Is this faked?
Let's see what kind of little triggers are in this thing.
Is it rigged?
Yeah. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't see it. And on top of that, it's the twist kind. No buttons.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so we laughed. We said, man, if we go anywhere with you and this thing goes off, we're
out.
We're out. Well, we went somewhere with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she set these flashlights up, and I watched her. I was like a cop on a drug bus. I'm on stakeout. I'm walking
Yeah.
around. Everything that they're doing, I'm watching. And it was an impromptu deal, so we didn't give her a big whole lead up of preparing,
Yeah.
because she was down for an event. And so we took her to this place, and it's funny that you mentioned, I'm going to come back to that 3:00 time.
Okay.
So we start about 2 a.m. in this
Yeah.
place, because it's a public place, but wait till they closed.
Mm-hmm.
And at 2 a.m., nothing's going on. We set stuff. She's kind of getting in her vibe or whatnot. And she sets the lights up. We follow her around and all this good jazz. Well, no joke, about 3:00, now that you've mentioned that, and it's the light bulb's gone off my head, things start happening. Okay. And those dang flashlights start going off when she's asking questions, but not all the flashlights, specific ones in specific places. And what's wild is where they were going off is where people had seen some funky stuff.
Wow.
Okay. And she'll probably kill me for giving away. So we got to do she's going to do a full on investigation. She's got this stuff, but she hasn't released it yet.
Okay.
But we moved flashlights around and swapped flashlights out and all that stuff. So the flashlight that wasn't going off over here, when it got moved over there, it would go off. And I know online there's some things that have debunked that. What do you feel that is? What's the validity of that thing? Have you seen that happen? What do what's your take on it?
With the flashlights?
Yeah, being able to turn flashlights on and off. That's just crazy.
You know what? It takes a lot of energy to turn off the flashlights. When you're looking at regular spirit activity versus the demonic activity, this is just my personal take on it. But the demonic side of things can manipulate things, can use a lot of energy to actually make things go on and off. It's funny how it all started at 3 a.m. That for me is a telltale sign that we might be dealing with something sinister. Now, I'm not saying it is sinister.
Right.
I'm saying it is a good possibility.
Right.
But with the flashlight things, I don't know if you watched the season finale of the second season of Ghost Biker Exploration.
Yeah.
I was on there.
Yeah, it didn't show you directly. You were kind of, but I do recognize your haircut.
Yeah, and possibly this bald spot too.
Yeah.
So what happened is you saw the flashlights. The activity with the flashlights, and it was very direct. I believe when you're dealing with something negative, they want that attention. They want that interaction, because when you start interacting with them, then they start connecting the bond to you.
Yeah.
And you gotta be careful, because if that happens, you stand a chance of taking it home.
Right. She did the whole thing and then, don't.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't remember all she said, but I thought that was pretty wild. But it was neat that you mentioned that, talking about wanting attention, is there's two areas of this building. And one area where the known activity had happened, some weird stuff went down. That's where the flashlights were going off. Well, when she listened back to her audio, she was getting a male and a female voice. But when they were going to go do some stuff in the next room and left everything down there, me and my buddy Dave were kind of in this cased opening that splits the two different parts of the building.
Yeah.
And when they were trying to do something upstairs, and doing some other stuff, Miranda, don't kill me. Please don't kill me for giving all this stuff away, because we're going to make it right. I want everybody to Ghost Biker Explorations. She's a crazy, great investigator.
Yes,
open my eyes and stuff. But when they were upstairs trying to see if there was anything going on in there, the lights downstairs, what had happened was it answered a few things on and off, whatever. And it just kind of played around. It didn't do much. It kind of faded out. But when they went in the next room to do stuff, it pissed that light off, man. That thing was down there just blinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, because I know they're there.
Yeah.
There's no way they're operating this light
Mm-hmm.
because they're over here doing their own thing. They're in a whole nother world, if you
Yeah.
will. And this light, and my buddy Dave's looking at me like, and I'm like, it was crazy.
You know, when you talk about that aspect, you know, that Miranda and then went to another room,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then it started going off in that room that you just got out of, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now you also had to ask yourself too, you know, there's a lot of what ifs, you know.
Yeah.
Is this the possibility of this thing trying to separate you and your friend away from Miranda?
I'm glad you asked that because I was drawn to go see what was going on.
Yep.
That is wild that you asked that because I actually went down there. I'm like, I was sitting there and I was sitting there and I was sitting there and I was like, I got to go see what that, because it was in a nook. So you couldn't see the flashlight, but the room was lighting up and down.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Have you ever heard of the theory of curiosity killed the cat?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
So the big question is, was it trying to separate you from everybody else? Because you don't know about all the stuff yet.
Sure.
And it's going to be trying to play on your mind.
Right.
And then separate you from all the rest of the people.
Well, because it's that funny thing. It's that military mindset where you go toward the fire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You go towards to the gunshot. And so I'm sitting here watching this thing go off. I'm like, I got to go down there and see what the hell's going on.
Exactly.
And so I just kept looking, and I did. I'm not even gonna lie. I went down there, stuck my head in there to see what was going on. And that's wild. Nobody said that. You're the first that's made that statement.
It likes to separate people. You know, if you're dealing with something that is demonic or sinister, it likes to separate you from the rest of your group so it can isolate you. You see what I mean?
Yeah, interesting.
And sometimes curiosity can get you in a buttload of trouble.
Yeah, because what happened in that area before that, we were trying, she was asking questions, and I had, that must have been a kid coming in.
My kids, yes, I told them to stay downstairs.
Yeah, kids are wonderful though. They're welcome on the show at any time too.
Okay,
they want to stick their head
to you.
There you go. Well, mine's getting so big. I have to schedule appointments now. He's getting so big.
I've got 4 kids, and
Lord.
I got a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Oh wow.
Please pray for me.
I will. I only got one. But going back to what happened at that area of that room, and Brendan, please don't kill me for giving away stuff, but it's purposeful for the show. So I go down there, and she's like right with me. She's within 3 feet. And there's a gap between us in this doorway, and she's asking questions. And what was funny is this place, the people that run this place had a feeling on who they thought was hanging out, ghost wise, if you will.
Yeah. And
so I had some loaded questions to give Miranda, but I wasn't going to give them to her until she'd done her thing a little bit. And because I was trying to play it as clean as possible as far as information goes. I'm going to say, we're going to put them in here and we're going to see what happens, and we'll go from there. So after nothing's happened for a while, almost an hour, I start feeding her questions, and she's starting to ask them and whatnot. And that's when activity started happening. Yeah. And so she knew that this, we knew what type of music this particular person liked. And so she asked me to turn on some music. So I had my phone. I pulled up some music on the phone, very specific classic rock. And when I hit play, that's all right. When I hit play, I'm not kidding you. When the first few licks of a Creedence Clearwater Revival song come on,
CCR,
the hair on my right arm and her left arm, which we were, both of our only on one side. We both looked. The chicken skin and the hair was up on my arm.
Wow,
the light turned instantly on, as bright as you could turn it. It went from slow flickering answers to bing, and it wasn't even the light we were focused on. It was one that was right behind her, and it just went bing, and my eyes went about as bright And she looked at me and I looked at her and I thought, oh,
It's like, it's
crap.
happening.
Yeah. This just got real. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that was my experience with her. And that's
Yeah.
and that's also the set of lights that kept drawing me down when they went to another park.
Yeah.
And that was so weird.
I bet that was awesome though, wasn't it?
I lied, first of all, because I didn't run like I said I was going to run. And I told her, I said, if things happen, I'm out,
That's right.
But I was so fascinated. Yeah. So, I couldn't leave. I really couldn't leave. I mean, I was just immersed in what was going on. I didn't feel in danger. I didn't feel, any kind of way. But I will say that when they went upstairs, they got a little activity upstairs. And Chris from Soul Sister Paranormal was with Miranda, and she got the vibe that whatever was going on upstairs didn't like men. Yeah. And so she asked us to leave, and the girl that was with us stayed with them. It's sort of like the neutral party.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, we left the building, and supposedly they got more activity when we left.
Wow. Well, that's cool.
Because the girl that we left was a friend of my buddy Dave, had no idea what we were even doing. He just brought her along. And so we're like, we're going to leave you in here. And she's like, you're going to what? Because she's been seeing all this stuff. and Dave, we were outside and Dave goes, look, here's the deal. If we go back in there and it's a bloodbath, we're just going to lock the door and let Amber deal with it tomorrow.
Don't blame you.
Wipe the handrails down. We're out.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, that place, hopefully Miranda's going to do a full investigation of it. If you happen to be in this neck of the woods, man, we'd love to have you as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Man, I know being out here, it's a different environment. Sure. I get to learn a different culture. I get to learn how to help people in that aspect.
Sure.
But this ain't home.
Sure.
I've got 3.5 years left before I retire from the military, and I will be coming back home.
Oh,
Georgia.
Cool. There you go.
Georgia's my home. So, I know anytime y'all would like for me to come out, I can check my schedule. And
absolutely. Well, you need to definitely reach out to Miranda. Yeah, you need to reach out to Miranda. I think that would be a good one. I'm really kind of nudging her to do that one, to do a full on.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is you'd have to do it after between midnight and 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Because of it's a public place. But so again, it goes into that witching hour deal to where maybe you can get some good activity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I really don't think anything sinister is going on. Yeah. I really think it's more they're people that had spent a lot of time there, and I think they just got so ingrained there that it's hard to let go.
Yeah. I'll be speaking at a couple Paracons here this year. One will be in Tyler, Texas, on April the 18th. So if y'all can come out, hey,
absolutely,
come on out. And I think I've then got Miranda talked into coming out to Las Cruces, New Mexico for a Paracon there too.
I've never been to New Mexico. I've been to California, Texas, yada yada yada, but never been to Arizona or New Mexico. I need to branch out.
New Mexico, you have a lot here. I didn't know it was this embedded with the weird stuff until I got here, and it's a lot. You have Roswell, which is about 3 hours that way. I went there a few months ago, and just looking at the UFO museum and stuff like that. It's really neat.
Well, let me ask you that. Not to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
I don't want to miss this. What do you think about people that say that there is a strong connection between ghost, if you will, and aliens, as far as aliens being interstellar time travelers, and that ghosts are really just people in a different time envelope, if you will? and almost like they're time travelers, if you will.
Yeah. You know, when you look at that whole phenomenon, first off, when you look at aliens and UFOs, you know, there's a lot of history that shows, you know, we have been visited, you know, by aliens or things that doesn't look like us. Let's put it that way. Okay. Yeah. Now, how much of that is factual? You know, don't know, but it is fascinating to look into.
Sure.
You know, now there have been a lot, and I say a lot, of demonic cases that looks like alien abduction. But once you look farther into it, you have the smell of sulfur. You have all this stuff aligning with, you know, demonic activity. And once you help them from a demonic standpoint, you know, getting rid of the demon and stuff like that, their life goes back to goodness. Okay. You know, so are all aliens demons? I don't think so, you know, but the demonic forces knows how to play with that whole realm and that whole aspect.
Right.
There has been a lot of Bigfoot sightings.
Oh yeah.
Actually, that actually winds up being something that is more of a demonic mind frame.
Really?
And yes, and I'm not saying all of them, but there is some cases where when you see Sasquatch, he has red eyes and he smells like sulfur. You know, so they can take forms and shapes.
Sure.
They can look like whatever they want to look like. They can smell. You know, they produce this putrid smell. You know, and so is all Sasquatches or all aliens demonic? No, but I believe that, you know, the demonic realm can play into that and cause you to see something that it wants you to see versus what you're really seeing. So, you know, when you look at U.S. history too, you know, you're seeing the Roswell crash of the 1940s, right?
Right.
Then isn't it funny how after that we have bulletproof vests, we have fiber optic cables, we have all of
to
this.
The choir.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
And we have all of this stealth technology. You know, the stealth bomber was in play in the 60s and 70s. Many people think it came into play in the 90s.
Yeah, no, it was. They developed. I think they said the first, like the SR-71 and the first stealth bombers and stuff like that were being developed in the 50s. Yes. We were just out of a world war and in a Korean war.
And isn't it funny how that's right after the time period of the Roswell crash?
Yeah,
so it makes you really wonder what really crashed. Am I saying it's UFO or alien technology? No. What I'm saying is it is funny how we start getting all this technology after that crash. And when you really play into conspiracy theories now, you know, and yes, I studied demonology, but I also like to look into other things too.
Sure.
You know,
open mind, right?
Exactly. You know, I watched a documentary about all this UFO stuff. You know, and there's a working theory that JFK was assassinated because he got too close to the UFO phenomena. And the government, you know, yes, you have the president, but the president is viewed as a temporary employee.
Yes.
You know, there's some things that he needs to know, but there's some things that he doesn't need to know.
Yeah. He's the marketing director.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So a working theory is that he got assassinated or killed off because of his infatuation with the UFO phenomenon. He was actually going to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and actually, you know, visiting or seeing this UFO stuff. On several of those visits, Marilyn Monroe was with him. And they believe that she got killed off, not overdosed, but she got murdered.
I know. You couldn't convince me any different than she.
And then isn't it funny how Bill Clinton, whenever he got into office, he was fascinated about the UFO stuff. but he was warned, sir, if you keep doing this, you're going to wind up just like JFK.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And then he stopped. So
Yeah.
yeah, but those are theories.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that actually happened or they got killed off because of this. It just working theories, but it does kind of make sense.
Yeah. There's plausibles to everything. The only thing I'd have to jump off and hang up is if you said the earth was flat. I'd be like, I can't believe the earth flat. Tell me the earth was flat. I'd be like, I'm out. I got to pull the chute,
That's right. Gotta jump off on this one.
Yeah. Well, man, I know I've held you up and you've got time with your kids and everything, but you have been a great interview. And
vice versa.
we definitely need to do some more, and I'm going to dig deeper because that was just my little, for everybody listening and watching, is my overview. I wanted to interview you, introduce you, Leon Wilks, to everybody that's on my stuff. This is a growing page. Of 2020 is going to be huge for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we're definitely going to have you on. I'm going to do a better job of digging into what you do and having some really hard, direct questions. This is sort of like the break the ice interview.
Okay.
And hopefully I'll be around and Miranda won't kill me for sharing stuff that happened. And
speaking of Miranda, is that her on your back wall?
That is her.
Ah, okay.
That is her. I'm glad that she brought. She's overlooking me. She's looking out for me.
And she has the infamous flashlight.
She does, because that was my for everybody that doesn't, I'm glad you brought that up, is my mural behind me is a local artist did this to commemorate the first year. So, and I'll send you a picture. I'll email you a picture of this up close. If you look at every aspect, it's just basically all the different things are the different episodes have happened. He listened to the whole year and he just moshed it together.
That's cool.
And I'm so fascinated about the flashlight deal that Miranda, is holding the flashlight.
Yeah.
And I was very happy because my buddy used to sit over on the other side and he put it on, I don't think he planned it on purpose, but he ended up putting it where she's over my shoulder all the time for where I
That's
like
cool. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
Were you at the Abnormal Alabama?
I was not, but my buddy Dave was, and that's how he met Miranda. And he dropped in almost like the calling that you talked about earlier, when you met some people. He saw a little bitty flyer on a gas station door. It looked like somebody just went up and printed on their home printer and stuck it on the thing. And he was on his way somewhere over to Georgia. And he was like, well, that looks interesting. He was doing some work stuff. And he says, man, we could be back in time to see some of that. And he got his nephew who was with him when they were on there, and they went out of their way and stopped. He said when he saw that flyer, he was just and this is something that's not that he nor I delve into. Like, it's not been a passion of ours by any means, but that flyer just drew him.
That's cool.
To that event. And we met Miranda, and she's been a great friend ever since.
That's cool. I'd be more than happy to be on any other shows like that you want me to.
Absolutely.
I know I got a full year, so there are a few podcasts that I will be on, and I did have my own podcast. It was called The Work, and it dealt with the demonic side of things. How everything works. But I had to kind of put that on the back burner for a little bit because things at work is getting hectic, and now I'm in seminary and all this stuff, or I will be going to seminary, and so that kind of had to be put back on the back burner. But I'm still doing podcasts though, like yours and whoever asked me.
Sure.
So I'm on those as well. So, but this is the first podcast that I've ever been on that doesn't deal with just the paranormal. Right. So this is a cool opportunity, and I really do appreciate it.
Oh man, I appreciate you. I'm fascinated in what you do, and I'm definitely going to work really hard at getting some very direct questions now that we've broken the ice, so to speak. And I'm being like, all right, Leon, I got to know about this, and this, because this is crazy. or I'm fascinated by this. And if you're ever in this neck of the woods, as they say, would definitely have to have you in the studio as well. And,
sounds good.
And Miranda's been on twice. She's been in studio twice. We're definitely going to have her on some more and build relationships. And if everybody that's listening and watching, please check out Leon and stay tuned for the things that he's doing. And we're just going to have you on as much as we can.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. If you'll hang on, I'll hit this embed music out and then we'll go from there.